everyone, and we are due for some fireworks. We got a tight battle at the top. This is round 3 of the 2024 Gold Eagle Open, sponsored by Latitude 64. Thank you so much to our patrons of Park Pro and, of course, to PDGA Canada for all they do for the sport in Canada. We mentioned it before. We got a tight battle at the top. I'm Andre. I got Jesse in the booth here. We're back at Jackfish Lake for round 3.
Yeah, I am super excited to see what this leader group can do on the longer, more open, and of course with all the elevation changes in the world on it, I'm sure it'll produce a lot of drama and a great final round of disc golf.
Well, in the last time we saw some action here, we saw Noah scoring what we believe is the course record there. Here he is. He won his first A tier here last year, and just a solid player all around, really solid through this tournament. He had a few hiccups in round 2, but able to battle through that and come into round 3 with the lead here.
Yeah, still a 3-stroke lead over this man here, Thomas Germann. He's put on a great tournament so far, and I'm excited if he can catch up to Noah or hold on to his second place spot against the rest of the leader group.
Yeah, and it's been fun to watch him play, especially chasing Noah down in round 2 there. We also have on the card, we got Luke, who is always fun to watch. And, he's a Rookie of the Year candidate. What? It's crazy. He's a -11. He's not that far back from these guys. And, this course seems like it was hand-built for him. He's got a lot of power. And let's see what he can do with all that airspace. Rounding out our card is Marshall Toews. He's dangerous from everywhere on the course. And the fun fact is, he's the reigning Manitoba champion, and you're not. He's at -10. And if you haven't checked out that Manitoba coverage, go ahead and go check that out. It's on Park Pro, and Marshall had a great tournament there, and see if he can keep that up here. Hole 1, it's a par 3, 275 feet, but it plays a lot longer than that, as it is uphill the whole way on this side slope, making it tough to land your disc here near the basket.
Yeah, absolutely. A slope that can change the outlook of your round right off the get-go. Lots of opportunity for rollaways, and that hard-packed dirt seems to do that more often than not. You gotta hope that once you hit that long grass, if you're rolling, that it settles down and stays.
And that's the putt that you want to see, as we just watched there, not the putt that hits the cage from the bottom side. That is how you will get those rollaways, as we watch Noah Higgins, our tournament leader, teeing off on hole 1. Some good play, ground play there, and he's going to land that one really close, putting the pressure on this man, Thomas, coming into round 3 at -13.
Yeah, 2 different approaches to the hole, but 2 great results. Thomas throwing something a little straighter, letting it sit up and push at the basket. Noah absolutely muscling a super overstable disc up there.
Yeah, not to be outdone. Let's see how Luke can respond to those 2 great drives. Coming off with a lot more hyzer. Maybe not the best place, maybe not the best action that you want, but that is in Luke territory, Luke putting territory for sure.
Yeah, good disc, good distance control. Just let it go a little early.
Here's Marshall, more of a direct approach here. Getting a similar ground play to Noah, but maybe a little earlier than what he'd like.
All very puttable lies. Just make sure these guys are on, have their game face right off the hop, first hole of the tournament.
Here is Luke, just not able to get that one drop. Marshall, he could put these in from anywhere. That is the danger of this hole. That close to that far.
Yeah, a longer putt now, uphill all the way. As long as he keeps this one above the cage, it should be fine.
There you go. Great comeback putt for the par.
Yeah, good confidence booster after the shorter miss putt. Hopefully keeps that going into the rest of his round.
But a great start from Noah and Thomas here, getting the birdie on hole 1. That's how you want to start your round 3. Luke borrowing the disc from Thomas. As you can see here, it's a popular spot for recreation, so disc golf isn't the only thing you can do at this area. Let's take another look at each of these drives and this form. As we mentioned, this is part of the Cold Garden Cup, one of the final events of that disc golf tour. Huge shout out to Cold Garden and to Jordan Allway for putting that one on. Hole 2, it's a par 3, 471 feet, maybe my favorite hole on the course. There's a lot of airspace over top of this long grass. If you can land something somewhere in this area, in this fairway, give yourself a look at a layup for the par. Birdie on this one is a challenge.
Yeah, it looks like there's less wind than we saw in our first round here. Hopefully that gives the guys just a little boost to put this one close.
Yeah, although the way that Noah was playing in that round 1, he might want the wind, although that is a great drive, leaving himself a long look. See how Thomas responds. A little bit lower, but not putting himself in danger there. I do believe is out of bounds short of that short grass as well. As we watch Luke, if anyone can get there, it is him. He's got a lot of power, but unfortunately catching the tree and dropping out of bounds.
Yeah, great line, just a little low out of his hand. If he gets above that tree line, he's in the bullseye.
Here's Marshall.
This one looks like it's been cooked over.
Yeah, and you can tell right out of his hand he didn't like it. Going out of bounds as well.
Yeah, it might be challenging to even find some of those discs when you look at the thickness of the rough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a couple of times and a couple of guys that we saw that, cooked it over kind of like Marshall did, but maybe a little bit worse, and just said, you know what, I'm not even going to bother because black disc and that is really hard to find. As we watched Luke put his drop zone shot up real close. Marshall looking to do the same.
Not quite as close as he might have wanted that one. Started to come off the line to the right, but should have a pretty routine putt.
Thomas putting himself under the basket, and he'll have an uphill putt. No, with a little bit of a long look, but giving himself a chance to make the putt, but playing it safe.
This was our most difficult hole of the day and one of the few that was playing over par. This one in particular playing more than half a stroke harder than its par 3 designation. And since we've already seen it and can't spoil it, there were 0 birdies on the day. Split perfectly down the middle, 50% par, 50% bogey or worse.
Yeah, and that just brings in the challenge of this hole. And when I think of Jackfish Lake, this is sort of the hole I think of. There's a lot of out of bounds, a lot of long grass, and a lot of elevation that you have to contend with. Here is Marshall's putt after the OB stroke and approach shot, catching some chains high on the basket. Hole 3, it's a par 4, 750 feet. A lot of elevation change on this one, and a lot of interesting ways that you could approach this one. And it's all about where you want to land the disc. Obviously, short grass is ideal, but biting off as much distance as you can to try to land one on your second shot closest to the basket.
I love the look of this hole. Almost looks like the prairie version of something we'd see at the toboggan course in Michigan. The way the grass is cut, the way the hills roll. Placement off the tee, very key here. Just making sure you find some shortcut grass so that you can get good footing for your second shot into the green.
Here is Noah. You know he's got a lot of power. He puts that one out. The right-hand side. Just trying to land something in the short grass. Looks like he does so. Thomas. Looking to do the same. Maybe a little bit further out right than he wanted, but looks like it's going to check up. Maybe.
We definitely saw a few discs in our first round. Find those right side bunkers for the guys that pull it a little too wide. And I think that is one of the more dangerous things you can do. Take away your run up and your ability to access the green.
Yeah, and here is Luke. A little bit further on the left side, but he's on that high side of the hole and out of the large foliage, so he should have a good look at the basket on his next shot. Marshall. Ending up in those trees there. It is hot out here today. You see a lot of umbrellas. Just trying to stay cool. Keep the sun off you. We also had some smoke rolling at this point, so.
Canadian fire season is like half a year.
Yeah. Saskatchewan is, you don't think about it as many trees as we have out here in BC, but they are just as susceptible to these wildfires as we are. So we watch Thomas putting this one up. Not quite getting the distance he wants, but he should have a little bit of a long look. Noah with some really good footing. This is exactly what you want for your second shot.
Yeah, what a great job by Noah there. Kept it on line with the basket the whole way and just let it fall out of the sky and nestle up in the circle.
Here's Luke, the furthest drive of the bunch.
That's a heck of a shot from him as well. Just nicely puts it at the base, skips a little further by. He'll be really happy with the work he's done on this hole.
And Marshall getting away with one here a little bit. Maybe not as much height as he wanted on that disc, but able to sneak it up onto the green.
Yeah, that's an error that he doesn't want to have after throwing his drive into the trees.
Here's Thomas, that look from the long grass, unable to put that one in. Advantage Noah on this hole. Luke sneaking that one up above. He will get a stroke on Thomas here. Marshall able to put the par in. Next up we have Noah.
Oh no, that's an uncharacteristic miss from Noah, and at a time when he could score on Thomas. It's still early in the round, but you want to keep that cushion as big as possible for as long as possible, and I guarantee you he's going to be walking to the next hole wishing he had that one back.
Yeah, no doubt about that. That was an opportunity missed for Noah as both those guys come away with the pars. Take another look at Luke. Keeping his balance, almost rolling his ankle on the follow through, but this is your Rookie of the Year candidate at this point of the year.
His performance here probably contributing to that.
Yeah, if he can keep this up and stay on that podium, that goes a long ways for those points. And here we have our leaderboard. Noah Higgins, as we mentioned, staying up top. 3 strokes on Thomas. And then Luke following closely behind, trying to chase those guys down. Marshall at -9. Kyle, Brandon, and Jacob all at -7. Kristen and Eric at -4. And Dan at -3. So we watch some of the Saskatchewan combines taking some harvest, some late season harvest. Hole 4, it's a par 3, 358 feet. Your quintessential disc golf shot, really shot sort of shape here. And yeah, I do like this hole a lot. It does play uphill as well.
Yeah, I suspect this will be a pick your favorite fairway driver hole for some of the guys with power, and maybe with the elevation, a full driver from the other guys.
Yeah, and a lot of these guys do have the power to go sort of hyzer over top of the right-hand trees, but it is pretty tall shot, a pretty high shot, and it requires a lot of power. Luke opting for the forehand here.
Oh, that's so early.
Like you heard him say, that is a little bit early. Not what you want to see, but you should be able to get in for the par after that errant drive.
Yep, it's an unfortunate miss, but he takes all the obstacles out of the hole, and it should be very routine work from there.
And here is Noah. Kind of more your stereotypical shot here.
Yeah, his looked like it was coming out a little bit early on him. Might have to contend with the bunker of trees. Thomas, however, gets a nicer nose angle, a lot of turn. Yeah, wow. That
Great
disc looks
shot.
like it cut the fairway for the hole. That is perfect.
Amazing shot from Thomas there. See if Marshall can follow that gorgeous shot up.
This looks like it could be a little bit pulled from Marshall.
Can keep pushing, then
Yeah, honestly, a fairly decent result. That's the advantage of the backhand fading into the basket versus the forehand line that Luke took.
as Luke's long putting bid here. He did give himself a chance, but he will be able to drop that one for par. As we see Noah from the long grass, not in the optimal position. As Thomas will get a stroke on him. Marshall. He wanted that one.
Yeah, that looked like it was in for most of the way. Unfortunately, just a little low outside.
Here's Luke putting in his par. You could tell from just the body language on the card that there's a little more pressure on these guys in this round than there was in rounds 1 and 2. You know, maybe a little bit more nervous, and, you know, Thomas hoping to get that A-tier win. Noah trying to defend his title. It's a lot to play for here.
Yeah, everybody's friends until the tournament's on the line.
Here is another look at that gorgeous drive from Thomas.
Just perfectly in the middle of the fairway the whole way.
Yes, and just great ground play, and that is the definition of parked. Hole 5, it's par 3, 390 feet. This one is pretty straightforward, except for the distance. 390 feet, not a lot of, most of these guys will have that, but for the amateur, it's maybe approaching that harder to hit distance.
Yeah, definitely all about making sure you swing that disc in at the right time so you don't end up in the trees. Come to this little mouth of a green here.
Hole 18 at Worlds, down by 1. It's gotta go in.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
PDGA made for moments like this, and you know, Thomas, after that last drive, he is made for moments like this as he is chasing down Noah at the top. He's only 2 strokes back. As we watch him put this one, looks like it's going to be pretty close. Yep, and that is nearly a drop-in for him.
Yeah, you can't ask for anything more than that. Perfect width, perfect distance control.
Luke looking to try to chase Thomas and Noah down as well. Look at this shot. What a great shot. You know, a little more ground play, and he had a chance to get that one off the skip.
Yeah, what a heck of a hole to have on your ace resume.
Here's Noah, maybe a little bit earlier than what he wants, but we'll see if it works out for him. But he will have a tough second shot there.
Yeah, kind of a different strategy from Noah, flexing something down into the pocket. Maybe a miscalculation on the strategy front when you see how routine the first two hyzers were.
Yeah, and Marshall here, you know, out of his hand, he knew that he didn't have the distance that he required. Noah, put this one up and over, dropping it in. Should be able to clean that one up for par. Here's Marshall. He has a look here. Unable to get that. And I just like anytime that Marshall's putting, I love seeing the focus that he brings to every single putt.
Yeah, you can see correcting his swing immediately after, knew it wasn't right out of his hand, and doesn't seem like the type of guy that likes to make the same mistake twice.
All smiles for those two guys as they put those in for birdie. Just like that, the lead is down to 1. Let's take another look at Luke's drive here. Just really smooth stroke on that in his form there.
Yeah, great understanding of the stability of his discs as well.
Yeah, just putting it in a perfect spot, perfect landing zone. Hole 6, par 3, 234 feet, one of the easiest holes on the course. This one, you want to shoot it out the gap of the drive and just put this one, have it crash down into the trees. It does play downhill as well. The challenge is maybe that it is blind off the tee box.
Yeah, definitely one of the easiest holes on the course, and one you want to put on your scoreboard to cushion some of the more difficult holes coming down the road.
Yeah, it's not hard to get out of position here as well, and that's when those trees on that green can really come into play. But Thomas,
wow,
drops this one off.
Almost dunks it.
Yeah, almost dunks on Vicky.
Yeah. Luke looking like he's lining up almost a grenade angle hyzer here.
Yeah, that is a very tall angle, and look at this result.
Holy smokes.
Two in a row to 5 feet. So can't complain about that if you're Luke.
Sometimes I feel like Luke goes for more thrill than strategy.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's not always the case. Sometimes the Luke line is the best line, and I think it might be here.
Yeah. Here is Noah. A lot of pars in a row. And looks like he will be in a difficult spot, like we mentioned at the start of the drives. That's exactly what you don't want, giving yourself a lot of trees to contend with on your putt. Marshall checking up. He should have an open look at the basket.
Interested to see how many trees Noah has to contend with. Yeah, he's lining up a forehand roller, which is not something you want to be doing from inside circle 2.
And that is definitely not the result you want either.
No.
Maybe landing in the worst possible position you can on this green. And just like that, we have a 2-stroke swing if Thomas can put his in from close.
Yeah, lots of golf left, but to quote the great Gord Downey, couldn't come at a worse time, because that will change leaders for us, I believe.
Yep, there you go.
And there's our confirmation.
Thomas jumping up to that minus 17 in a temporary tie with Noah. But with Noah's bogey, that'll drop him down. This really is a birdie or die hole. You know, it's not used to seeing 2-stroke swings on it.
Yeah, Noah here having one of only 2 bogeys on the day.
That is not the group that you want to be a part of.
another look at that near ace. All the shrapnel is coming into the green with pace. Checks up nicely.
Let's take a look at our scoreboard here as we have a change. Thomas on top, -17. Noah, one stroke back at -16. Luke chasing those guys down at -13. Marshall, -10. That rounds out our lead card. And then we have Kyle Wiens, -8. Jacob Martins, -7. Daniel Forte, -6, tied with Brandon Redekop. And then we have Eric Giesbrecht at -5 and Krishna Rocha at -4.
Yeah, hot round going to Thomas right now, and tied with Dan Forte as well, although he has played 2 more holes.
We are moving on to hole 7. It's a par 3, 352 feet. And talk about elevation change. This one, after going down the hill, we are going right back up, almost to where we started. And this one, a lot of guys will just go for this big Anheuser play and try to land one in this area here, give themselves a look for a putt.
Yeah, as we saw in round 1, 352 feet is not what this hole plays, and it's a big ask with the distance, especially curving it to the right at the end to carry all in one shot. Lots of guys, like Andre said, will push it straight or bail out to the left and get a long straight look at the basket.
Here's Thomas opting for a forehand.
That needs to turn.
Or does
Wow.
it? What a shot from Thomas. After going birdie, 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 puts himself close again for another birdie. So watch Luke looking at that same play. You know, I talked about the ante, but we didn't talk about the forehand, which seems to be the play if you have the arm.
Luke showing off his 99 forehand skills, as you see on his player card.
See if Marshall can follow that up. Pointing for it to go up. He gets it into the short grass. Not quite at that 99 forehand skill level, but Noah, this is the play that we kind of talked about, and you know, he plays this one really well as well.
Yeah, he gets a great hold on that disc to fully wrap the corner. Really impressive angle control there from Noah.
Marshall with some work to do here. Maybe pushing that one a little bit too far from what he wanted. Not getting the angle that he needed. Here's Luke after a great forehand play, getting that birdie to drop. Talked about 352 feet and playing much further. These guys are getting there on a forehand. That's a lot of power for a forehand. Marshall should have those ones. He knows it. So we watch Thomas putting it close, but even closer is Noah. To stay within one stroke.
Yeah, that's a great tee shot from Noah to stay competitive, keep it within one.
Yeah, especially after you watch Thomas. You know, you can't quite see where the discs are off the tee, but you know, getting the reaction that he did, you know he's close. So this is just a great response from Noah.
Yeah, no, super fun to watch him absolutely rip that one.
Yes, it is. He could put a lot of power on that disc. There he is, this focused. Even though he knew he was close, he's just on to the next shot.
Yeah, eyes on the prize.
Hole 8, it's par 3, 356 feet. Plays downhill. But the tricky part of this hole is where do you place your disc in this airspace so that it can have the landing spot that you want? Because that is the key to this hole. As you can see here, plays a side hill with this tree contention in the middle and the basket surrounded by bushes on all sides.
Yeah, high and low access to the basket, as you see here. Most players will likely opt to have their putts from below the basket, putting uphill if they can have the choice between the two. But any look at this basket is a good opportunity with that imposing tree in the middle.
Here we are, Thomas leading us off. Puts this one in a great spot. Not sure if it rolled down, but that looks like it's going to be pretty close. Here's Luke. Long of the basket. Could have some shrubs to contend with.
Yeah, if he stayed on the high side, that basket could be looking very small looking down at it with a lot of trouble for a missed putt.
Noah in unfamiliar territory in this event, trying to chase down Thomas now. Giving himself a putt.
Yeah, that's short enough that it could be in layup range for your final round. There isn't a ton of pressure for Noah to have to force the scoring yet.
Here's Marshall. Unfortunately, catching that tree a few feet to the right or the left, and he would have had an open look at the basket.
Hey,
Who's that guy?
handsome camera guy.
Here's that look from Noah. Has to lean out a little bit.
And that's what I was worried about. He does have the bushes for a backstop, but those bushes seem like they could be high enough to, interfere with his hands on his putting stroke.
Yeah. See, Marshall making the correction, getting his birdie to drop. This is where Luke ended up, looking down at the basket.
Ooh. And a good catch. Not a lot of chains on that one, looking
Yeah.
down into the cage.
And there's something about looking down on that steep side slope that it can be a little nervy as we watch Thomas put his birdie in. And he will get another stroke on Noah.
Yeah, that's a good make from Noah to not lose a second stroke, regardless of the amount of things in his hands and stance.
Here's another look at that Marshall putt.
Yeah, what a great putt from a knee.
Yeah, great pace.
Confident.
Here we are in hole 9. It's a par 3, 469 feet, playing back down the hill. These guys will just put this one up into the airspace on the right-hand side and try to land somewhere in that second fairway area, giving themselves a chance. But, I'm interested to see how different this hole plays with the wind change here. Not so much wind to contend with here.
Yeah, day one's wind made it ever more challenging. This is a little bit of deja vu to one of the previous holes where it's just going to be about getting your width and your distance control right so that you don't get pinched off by the trees.
Here we have a wide angle of Thomas. About to tee off.
And this is looking great.
It's looking really good. That's a great shot from Thomas. And we talk about distance control, and a lot of that is often thought about not making sure you get the distance that you need. But on this hole, it's all about making sure you don't go too far, because as you can see, there is that wooded backstop, and unfortunately, Luke finding that on the left-hand side.
If this has the legs, I like the width from Marshall.
Unfortunately, did not have the legs.
Yeah, you can hear him shouting on the tee box, you got to throw it, and he's not wrong.
Speaking of throwing it, and throwing it well, here's one guy that knows how to do that, and showcasing that skill right there.
Yeah, that's a great shot.
So our two leaders putting it in a good putting distance, putting the pressure on each other.
And wow, Luke has found himself a forehand roller, and it's just good enough to get out of the edge. He should have a pretty close putt from there.
Here's Marshall. There's that focus that we talked about. Always looking to give it a chance.
Yeah, just a little undercommitted from there.
And Thomas, that was a misrelease. That did not come into his hand very well.
You don't see too many of those from him.
Great 2, Noah.
Yeah. Noah's going to get a stroke back on Thomas to take it to 1 here.
Yeah, that is a great 2, especially when you're chasing down this guy. Thomas has just had a really solid tournament so far. You haven't seen a lot of those yips. You got to wonder if maybe you're on hole 9 of what could be your first A tier win. That's nerves coming into play for Thomas, I think.
Oh, yeah. Every hole we get closer to the completion of this tournament, the nerves will mount more and more for Thomas. It's just a question of how he manages them, how he manages the course and his abilities, and if he can, keep everything on track to finish it out.
All smiles from Marshall there. As we take a look at this wide angle of these drives.
Yeah, what a beautiful park and landscape we're playing in here.
Back to the beach for the sunset. That is that sunset I mentioned in round 2. Just a great tournament to be a part of. Let's take a look at our scoreboard here. Thomas holding on by 1 stroke over Noah. Luke trying to chase those guys down. He's at -15. Marshall at -10. Jacob at -9. Kyle Weens at -8. And then we got Daniel and Brandon at -7. We got Christian Roach and Eric Giesbrecht at -4, rounding out our top 10.
Yeah, the podium is still up for grabs for anybody in the top 4 or 5. The back 9 will finish telling the story of who takes home the glory here at the Gold Eagle Open.
Huge shout out to Gold Eagle Lodge for supporting disc golf in Saskatchewan. Catch us on the back 9 of round 3.
See you soon.